Welcome to CKAN Insider. This year marks 20 years of CKAN, the open source data management platform that powers open data portals for governments and organizations around the world. And today I'm sitting down with Steven De Costa, Link Digital's founder and one of CKAN's official co-stewards, to talk about what 20 years of CKAN has looked like from where we sit. And Steven, how are you?
Yeah, good. Um,
Right?
Ready to get started. Happy to take questions, all that kind of stuff.
Lovely. Always. That's great to hear from you. So let's do this. Well, for my first question is this. So CCAN has been around for 20 years now. You have been involved for a significant part of that since 2012, right? Was there a moment when you thought it might not survive, and what changed?
Yeah, so this is a really good question because, yeah, obviously, um, but that's the reason why I got drawn in to CCAN, because if you feel like you've got something to contribute and you feel like there's a gap that would be filled if you did contribute, then you feel like you're valuable. So I think my relationship with CKAN is, it definitely started with this idea of our company was working with it. We were
Yeah.
using it to deliver a product for a client, which was data.gov.au, the Australian Government National Open Data Program. And it felt like it needed help. And I needed help because I wanted that contract. So I wanted to keep that contract going well. I don't know, opportunity, crisis-opportunity. I think these things they kind of like entwine, and I would never say, if I was to reflect back on it and say, did I think CCAN was going to fail? No, never. Because the moment that I understood that I could gain from CCAN and I was connected to CCAN, and the more that I put into CCAN, CCAN would give back to myself, my company, and my staff. That was
Yeah.
it.
Right. But what kept Link Digital committed during the difficult stretches when you started it and in the middle of the process?
Well, I think there was already a wind of change. So the CCAN project itself was doing really well. It did well from, let's say, from 2006 to 2009. I think that was largely open knowledge internal. 2009 to 2012 was a real blossoming of this open data community, and there's a lot of adoption of CCAN. And largely that's how Link Digital got involved. The adoption moved forward and it created this opportunity for CCAN to be adopted by the Australian national government and their open data program. Just catching that and being involved in that made me feel confident that progressing that would make a lot of sense. So the reason why I kept involved in CCAN is there weren't necessarily any difficult stretches for us as a supplier, as someone that was beneficially involved in CCAN. I wouldn't say that there was any problem, there was any stress, there was any issue. Every time we put effort into the project, we got response back. Every time we tried to create value, we got value back. And for us, there was no real difficult stretch. The
Nice.
open data community, maybe they would have felt from the outside there's difficulties. But us as a service supplier, every time we invested in CCAN as a technical solution, we got real value in return.
Well, that's good to hear. But when you started working with CCAN, so open data meant one thing. But in 2026, with AI, data sovereignty concerns, and governments rethinking what they share, has the definition changed for that? And how has Link Digital's approach shifted alongside that change that you see?
Yeah, well, that's wow question, right? Like how has open data changed? It's almost fundamentally different to how AI might be some
Yes.
sort of other wave that comes across and folds over open data. Um, I don't think open data has changed. I think it's still resolved. It's a thing that revolves around and resolved upon accountability, transparency, and good governance. That should one set up a system that is going to be accountable to an externality, that externality would want to see the receipts. So the open data and the openness is part of that. AI is a different kind of beast. It's kind of this idea that Reality,
Yes.
once observed, can be modeled and internalized. And once you can observe reality as modeled and internalized, you can create a knowledge operation. You can create a model that would reciprocate what's internalized. That kind of technological shift does not change at all the dimension of value for open data. It just changes, I guess, the engine or the mechanism upon which open data is valued. So that's where we are today.
Is there going to be a role for OOI, or Objective Observer Initiative, for CKAN's future?
You're skipping across a bunch of stuff, but the Objective Observer Initiative is another completely new kind of concept, which is this idea
Yes.
that should we want, as a society, as a group of people, as a bunch of individuals, as corporate entities or government entities or anything that wants to trade on this idea that knowledge has value, or that transactional knowledge, like this event-based system that we have, this ledger of reality upon which data might be the record of state, that should we want to use those things, then who would observe that? Would we want AI to observe it? Because
Yes. Yeah.
AI is going to come
Right.
with some sort of premeditation or some sort of intention
Mhm.
if it's going to be modeled in a particular way or owned by a particular domain. And that's not necessarily the case. But what machine learning can do is create models that help us differentiate between things. So if we
Okay.
want something that's more like a perceptual model, not a cognitive model, things that think rather than things that discern, the discernment that comes with AI is much more valuable than the cognition that might come with AI, the knowledge operations. So the whole idea of the Objective Observer Initiative is just to recognize that fact, that independent of what technology is out there, and independent about how attractive it is, how much we
Mm.
want to use it, how much it might want to mow our lawns or vacuum our floors and increase our productivity in terms of these things that we want to remove. AI is still based on data. The data is
Yes.
based on perception. So the differential of perception is the thing that we want to understand. And the Objective Observer Initiative is largely around that. How would we
Right.
use technology to create better data? Data that we can objectively trust between two parties or many parties, such that the actual agreement upon which that data is objectively understood is somewhat independent.
Right. And I look forward for more future updates and progress on OOI, and also, of course, with CKAN. But I'm actually down to my last question. So let's look forward. Let's say 20 years later, finish this sentence for me, Steven. CKAN is still here because.
Well, because it's grounded. Anything that matters is connected to the things that should matter, maybe will matter, and absolutely do matter. And a project like CKAN, which is built upon the open source community, there's contributors, there's people who want to do stuff within the project, right? There's implementations, there's people who use the product and they use it in their particular implementations for their different data catalogs. But
Okay,
then
so
there's this meaningfulness of what is an implementation going to do? What's the open data catalog going to perform for end users? And I think this kind of triangulation between CKAN, between contributors, platform owners, and end users is what grounds it as a project. So there's no future without the present. And the present itself
yes.
is very much grounded around CKAN. It's not connected to some business plan. It's not connected to some sort of hyperscaler. It's not connected to some technological track like AI. It's not dependent on those things. It's only dependent on the three things that ground it, which is contributors, platform users, and the value it creates.
All right. And that's Steven De Costa on 20 years of CKAN. If you're working with CKAN or considering it, visit linkdigital.com.au or ckan.org to learn more. Thanks for watching CKAN Insider.